Okay, guys. One thing I want to apologize. Forgot to post anything on Wednesday this past week. Kind of lost a day. We were out over the weekend and had a 36-hour day, so it was a little rough. But I'm sorry. This hopefully will make up for it. Um, we decided to change something up, change it up a little bit. We talked about doing maybe, since we did vampires the week before last, doing werewolves, witches, Halloween, that kind of thing. But we're going to actually kind of sit here and discuss horror movies, horror shows, television shows, things like that, things that are remade, ones that we've seen, ones we've heard about, and maybe kind of rate them a little bit, maybe give them a popcorn or, two popcorns, whatever. And by all means, please comment on this video if you like it. If you don't, give us some options. What do you guys want to hear? We can't do complete classes, but we can sit here and do, I guess you would call them a vlog, for a video blog, I guess. I don't know what else you would call them. And kind of just discuss things. If there's a subject that you'd like to have, what we've researched, what we have experienced ourselves, things like that. This is a learning experience for all of us. This is something new. Help us out. Let us know what you want. Let us know if you like it, especially if you like it, or if you've got some other opinions. Just give us some feedback. So I guess right now we'll jump in and start talking about some of the classic films, and they're all horror films. They're all the scary movies, whatever you want to call them. I can tell you right now one thing. When I was younger, little, like under 5, I hated scary movies. Hated them with passion. And would cry and scream, didn't want to watch them. Well, my dad decided he wanted to prove to me that they weren't that scary. So he had me sit with him and watch, and I think the first one we ever watched was Frankenstein. And that got me hooked. So from 5 years old on, I am the biggest horror fanatic, not really fanatic, but fan, because anytime I get to watch a new horror movie, it's great. The new ones that are coming out, I always write them down so I can go back and look at them, watch them. Some are good, some are bad. Some of the new ones, they're getting kind of weird.
Too much CGI for, actual reality. It's not Disney, sorry, but, the real fan of the classics and the horror flicks and things like that. Not the hack and slash gore movies, but we're talking about
those too.
I'm not a fan of those. I like the classics and how they try to remake them and how close they keep up to them. You see some that were the classic, and then all of a sudden you see people using cell phones on the remakes. It's like, why are you giving it the title of the classic and then you're remaking it to more very, very current stuff? I'm kind of opposite with that, but it is what it is, and that's what they think is going to make them their money. And some of them are really good. Some of them are really, you want to watch it more than once. You don't want to wait till Halloween to watch it again. You want to go ahead and watch it now. You'll find them on various channels, various, apps out there, streaming channels.
YouTube?
YouTube's a good one to go back to find them again, preview them, listen about the actors and actresses that was in them, what kind of the storyline was, maybe even how the director started out one way and they changed it to fit the timeline, things like that, or the budgets they went over or were under, and unfortunately some people that may have been hurt during the take of the movie, or so many different things.
Poltergeist. Like those ones that you had the little girl, or the what was it, the teenage sister.
Right.
She passed in one of them, or after one, had a weird accident. The Indian from part 3, 2 and 3, I think. 3, maybe. Anyway, and then the little girl passed away as well. So you've got that one that had the weird coincidences of people passing after they did the filming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting when you go back in to see the history of what was it? It wasn't even a horror movie. It was one that was I'm going completely brain dead. Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
The
yeah,
original Wizard of Oz
there was a
is,
black and white version of it.
yeah, and they say that there is actually a person in the background that hung himself, and it's on film.
Mhm.
Have I seen it? No. Haven't been able to find it where it's got that in it. No. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Um, do I know that it really happened? I don't know. That was just a rumor that you heard. Some of the other ones, I mean, any kind of these shows that you hear rumors about, it's kind of interesting to go and check them out. See if you can find the whole story, not just what you hear through the rumor mill, but the whole story.
To relive it, go through it when you were watching it in childhood, and it scared you, and you hid behind the chair, or you hid behind the couch, or you just pulled the comforter or your blanket clean over your head, and you hid there, but yet you kept pulling it down to see what was going on. You could hear it, but it was always that fun childhood memory to bring it back and watch it as an adult and go, oh, so that's how they did that.
Right.
And to think about through how they created it, what steps they took, and how they changed the angles of it, and how they emphasized on the sound, and you could hear the sound as an adult being an orchestra played in the background, like the theme of Jaws. Well, that was an orchestra, but back then as a child, you didn't pay attention to that. You just heard that music and started looking around. So those are fun.
Or watching the horror movie and you like to watch them, and then all of a sudden you've got thinking, because you're alone or everybody else is in bed, and you're like, uh-oh, and now I got to turn on all the lights, now I got to go to bed, and you kind of turn all the lights on, and then as you go throughout the house, or I'm sorry I will admit it, you go turn all the lights on, then one by one, as you get closer and closer to your bedroom, turn the lights off, and then when you get to bedroom, the light's still on, and then you run to your bed. And hope to God nothing coming out from under the bed is coming to grab your ankle or something like that. It's fun, exhilarating to watch those shows. I enjoy them. A lot of people don't. I mean, it's just, and it seems like right now you have on TV, you have 31 Days of Halloween.
Yeah.
And it's always a different Halloween show or a horror movie, or you might have something as simple as Hocus Pocus or Halloween Town or something like that. But it's this time of the year everybody gets it more into watching the horror movies. Personally, I can watch them every day, all day long. Love them. And can watch them over and over and over again. And one of the best I've ever seen in the new genre, I guess, or the new age, believe it or not, it's a horror movie, but yet it's more of a suspense. And if you get a chance to watch it, it's called Rose Red. And it is based on a story of kind of a little bit of a truth. The house that they base the story off of is actually in Washington State. Um, there's pictures of it. There's some stories of it. And that one is just, I could watch it every day because there's always something different that you find the more you watch it. Oh, wait a minute, I missed that the first time. And that's fun to do. For me, it is.
Yeah, that brings it back to they made a lot of the movies based on books. And of course, they always had to modify it because it was a movie. But if a person reads the book, then sees the movie, they see all those little details that were left out with people doing certain things or going in certain rooms or changing a scene that the movie didn't incorporate, which would have made it 10 times better. So,
Or vice versa.
Red House, there's Red Rose, you got the popcorn like Pet Cemetery,
The Stand,
The Stand, all the Stephen King's novels, most of his novels, all became movies.
The Mist.
The Mist was another good one. The books out on them, even the old copies of them, the non-hardbacks, people would read them, and then they'd see the movie, or they'd see the movie. A lot of times I've seen the movie, and then I'd actually get to be part of the book, and it was like, man, they left out a lot of things. But that comes from the movies of budgets and trying to make it, and time constraints and all that. So books still feeling the difference, but the movies just make it more visually stunning too.
And then the books have a lot more background and detail that you can't really necessarily put in a movie.
The insights of it, more of that, they make it a lot deeper. Then, you know, you go into the books and the movies, and a lot of these movies were based on true landmarks, you know, and they were filmed there. You know, now they're scattered clean across who knows where. You know, the worst one I've seen so far is the Mothman. You know, Mothman's been a big thing in West Virginia, but then they made a movie. A lot of people got excited, and then they filmed it somewhere in New York or Philadelphia or
Pennsylvania, I think.
Pennsylvania.
Part of it.
You know, completely in another state, and did not hold true to the actual story.
There's a new one coming out, Mothman Prophecies. Or I think it's Prophecies. There's a new one coming out. I think it's this weekend, I believe.
Oh, I don't know about
Look that up. Yeah, a friend of mine is actually in it. He is, I'll just look it up here while we're sitting here. But yeah, they did another Mothman movie, and it's coming up. I thought he said the 24th, but I'm not for sure. It's like a B movie, I think, maybe, but maybe not. It might be another one. Well, there's another one. It's called The Mothman. It came out in 2010, and it's not the one with Richard Gere in it.
No, the one with Richard Gere was just, to me, another reporter following a story in a movie. That just didn't hold to the true meaning of the Mothman.
It made no sense to me.
The legends, you know, you go and see not only the museums and read the books and hear the stories, you know, the true stories that were documented, you know, from police reports and other things like that. And then they put it in the movie, and you get all excited, then you're completely disappointed. But they've had so many out, you know, it's an amazing thing to see and be excited about, but then, you know, run into that disappointment, and then, you know, half of the people are saying, oh, it was wonderful, but the rest of us that know enough about the information on it, it's disappointing for us. So we we look for something else to come out with it, you know, and then someone maybe makes a B-rated movie that holds definitely to the truth of it, the sightings, the pictures, the stories behind it, you know, the movement that it created.
It's called Mothman Legacy. The trailer is out, and it will be on digital platform and DVD and Blu-ray on the 20th, October the 20th. Check it out if you can. I've not seen it. It is a full-length movie. You can pre-order your copy now if you want. If you need information, I'll see what I can get and see where you can order it. Try to put that on. It does have lots of pictures. There's a preview on the internet. Look it up. But again, it's called The Mothman Legacy. So it's Susan's in it. Susan Shepard.
Historians.
What's his name? The guy that runs the museum.
Oh, Jeff Walmsley.
He's in it.
Yeah.
Lee, another lady from here, she is in it. Can't wait to see it. Got several people in there that I know, so I have to make sure I get all of them to sign a copy of it for me. I knew them when.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, speaking of the legends, you know, we've had several shows. You know, one of our bigger legends is the Bigfoot, Sasquatch. Depending on what part of the world you're in, it could be the Yeti, it could be, you know, the hairy creature, you know, and you start traveling. Yeah, Yowie. Or, you know, another name was, as some of the Native American and indigenous people said, they were Wendigos.
Or hairy,
So,
just hairy
or
man.
The hairy being, you know, hairy man. But to find movies on that, they kind of, to me, they made them so, they made them scary. They don't go into the actual stories of it, you know, some sightings.
It's not a Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, Harry and the Hendersons, which made the cameo, and it was cute. It was fun to watch. Yeah. You know, or they try to make these other movies that resemble it, and it's just not the same. I mean, you can watch the comedy part of it, but then try to watch and see a little bit of the stories behind it. You know, there's all kinds of ancient legends, you know, that told the story how it began and why it existed and all that things. You know, it's not aliens or unidentified flying objects or anything like that. These are legends that held true. It's just, Bigfoot is the biggest, master of hide and seek.
Yep, yep.
If it exists, then, oh well, we're never going to win that game because it ain't going to be found. It doesn't want to be found, and really, to me, it doesn't need to be found.
Like the Loch Ness Monster, you got the same thing there. I
Yeah.
mean, there have been sightings of it, but nobody has proven that it's there. Mothman, many sightings all over the world. No
Yeah.
proof that he exists,
Lots of
but,
questions,
you know,
Was it a government creation? Did it come to this earth? Was it already on this earth? Was it here before humans? Which, that could be true. I mean, it has existed. To me, leave it alone. You get to see it, you're lucky. Don't go no further than that,
I think there was actually a recent sighting.
There's an airport somewhere. There's an airport in one of the other states that there
Chicago?
was supposedly local sighting of it. And some of the, one of the things a lot of people say is if the Mothman's sighted, that means
Yeah.
there's going to be a bad thing happen, like when the bridge collapsed. It's always there before a tremendous thing happens,
Chicago, I think there was something here. It says, somebody wrote, it says, has the fabled Mothman made Chicago home? He was, I guess,
Somebody, USPS worker, sighted a 7 to 8 foot winged creature with bright red eyes at some airport when they were delivering, I guess, mail.
so, I mean, he's still around, even though, we've got him, we've had him for years. He's been here for umpteen years, he's been sighted all over the world.
I said we just let him be.
Mm-hmm. If he wants to be found, he'll come out. I mean, if you're meant to see him, you'll see him. Same with Bigfoot. Same with the chupacabra. I mean, then you've got
always been a fun one, yeah.
what's the other one?
The Beast of Bray Road,
Yeah.
was another one.
There's the Black Panther. He goes by
Yeah.
different names. Personally, I can tell you, I've seen that Black Panther. I was about 16 years old to see it. Saw it standing on my mom's porch, and I'm like looking down over the road, waiting on the bus in the morning, and I'm like, okay, I thought maybe one of my dogs got loose because it was a pretty good sized animal. And next thing I know, it's just walking alongside the road. Didn't even acknowledge that I was there. And I watched it, and then it got a little closer. And it was like, oh, that's not a dog, because you could tell by the way it walked. It was a cat. And that thing was probably, the body of it was probably almost 6 foot. Not alone its tail.
Yeah, tail.
And then, but I don't remember a sound. All I remember is watching it. It took about 2 leaps over and through the brush between some house, some property that was across the road from my parents. It was gone, completely gone. But it was just not. It wasn't daylight. It wasn't dark. It was just kind of like that dusk. But you could see the outline of it, and it was like, okay, that's kind of weird. But people have reported it, all over this area. Washington County, Wood County, maybe Ritchie County. I mean, these are local legends.
Yeah.
So,
I guess we better get back to
where we kind of got off on a thing, but that's okay. It's Halloween. We're allowed to.
We'll start back to the early beginning of the 1900s and kind of work our way back with some of those, and then we'll see what else we get into talking about.
And some we've seen, some we haven't. If you go online and you can look up horror movies, and I can tell you right now, there are thousands of them. And a lot of them aren't from here. They're from Spain. They might be from the United Kingdom. There's some that were actually filmed in Nazi Germany. A lot of those were France is another one there was a lot of those mentioned in France. But the very first one that I found on the list that I came across was filmed in 1895. I didn't even know they had movies in 1895. I didn't know they had pictures, but I didn't know they had film. And it wasn't a U.S. film. There were 3 of them. There was one of them in 85. It was called The Execution of Mary, Queen of Scots. I don't remember where it was done. I've never seen it. Does it still exist? It may be one of those lost movies that nobody's ever going to see again. Who knows? But that was like the first one. But now we can get into the classics. Like, which one you want to go with first?
The only one I remember of the classics was starting out was Nosferatu. The silent film. There was no words, no color. It was just pure black and white. You watch it and you could see the changes in the images, how they came out. Nosferatu was always kind of bent over, real long hands and fingernails. And that face, it's like that face, yeah, how they came up with that facial creation was just, I was amazed by it. But the teeth always got me.
Oh, I know.
The teeth remind me, as you would see on National Geographics or something like that, one of those really, really down in the dark fish you'd see way down the ocean. The teeth are just sticking out and pointy, and it's like how the person could actually open its mouth and bite someone.
I don't know how well this will come across, but obviously you can look it up online. But I know it's got there.
See the eyes and the eyes and the face. It's
kind of hard to get a good. There we go.
Yeah, but those teeth is like. I wonder in between takes, how many times they had to replace those teeth or something.
Oh, no.
And the ears, were the ears that hard, like plastic or that rubber type material? Because back then, I think, I know they don't have the same kind of makeup and the same kind of things they use nowadays, but a lot of nowadays they want to run CGI stuff, and you can really tell if you watch it carefully that it's an image they're imprinting into the movie. And see the difference. But back then, it's that the actors and actresses had to sit there, I know, for hours and then do that same take over and over, and then how long they had to stay in that makeup. I felt sorry for the guy that had to be in that makeup and that mask.
Yeah, because
the nose on that thing could not have been enough to get a regular breath in. He must have practiced a long time, and the characters they used on the silent one were so. It's kind of it reminds me of the old Charlie Chaplin black and white movies. Some of the parts you could have looked at as a comical, but then you already knew the anticipation of him slowly creeping up, and the shadow was awesome. Nosferatu's shadow was awesome, which in some lines they're not supposed to cast shadows, but you didn't see him doing super speed. You didn't see him flying. I never saw him transform into nothing. He just went after what he went after. He did dress up, I think, in one part in like a top hat or something.
Ew, I don't
like
know.
The other
Wasn't
Dracula
there something
movie.
in there, and it's been a while since I've watched that movie. Was there a spot where the guy that he had invited into the castle, where there were bats, and it was kind of portrayed that maybe he was the bat?
Right, there was that part. There was.
They didn't show him
bats.
transforming.
Yeah, they were kind of flying around him, and they were near him. But the representation that the movies nowadays are saying, they can transform the bats. But by that one, it was just like that's what he lived. The kind of dwellings he had. We could call it a castle, we could call it a dungeon, whatever.
Dark.
Yeah, and it was always dark. You would see the candles, and a lot of the movie, when they made the Dracula movie in black and white, it pretty much was kind of the same scenario to me in setup. He had the bats, he had the cobwebs, he had the what looked like dank and dark, hallways.
You could always hear the wolves out in the forest.
Yeah, as they say, the children of the night, the sounds, the music that they make. It was always fascinating to watch it all the way back from the beginning to see how closely they kept to the next one or further movies further along to current to see how much they used that or if they modified or how much they changed it. And then unfortunately they made comedies of it. Leslie Nielsen, the guy who played Naked Gun, he made a Dracula movie. That was hilarious. He did that fantastic. It was a comedy, and it was just great. I enjoyed that. I've looked for it and watched it 2 or 3 times, but it was just great to have the characters come in there. And the storyline pretty much follows the same, but it's a comedy, so it was awesome to watch.
Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. The one, it was in New York. Eddie Murphy did.
Vampire in the Bronx.
Yep.
Yeah, watch that. That was a comedy. That was good too.
And then you've got Dracula. You've got Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Mhm.
That they all these spawned from Nosferatu.
Yeah. They carried on. There was Dracula. Lugosi was a big name as the classic. He started the Dracula with the cape and the red and all that and the black and white. You could tell the color difference even in the black and white. But, he started with the slick back hair, the face that was white, the very pale, and his voice was that very deep, and it just followed suit kind of with the other one, but then you got to see a different way of it, how it was made, how they changed things, the lighting was different. And once in a while, in the black and white movies, if you pay real close attention, if you kind of look at the top of the screen once in a while, you'll actually see what we call boom light now. You kind of see what looks like a shadow just barely hanging there, and if you look, you're like, okay, that's not part of the movie. Where in the hell? And then you'll see kind of if move unless they change scenes or the character goes through there. You'll kind of see those little things pop off, or if you see the lighting off of the walls, or if they have a mirror in the movie, which I think there was a few of, you'll see a reflection off that mirror of the lighting off of something else that you would normally see nowadays. So it's kind of fun to look for those little differences. The voices were different, dialogue was different. It carried on to much more of a fascination more than entertainment, to see how they carry things, moved them, made them, and then it just kind of carried on with the story. And the story never got boring unless it was, to me, the drama part of it, or a love scene or something, which I'm not a fan of, but it just, you kind of got enveloped in the story itself. Okay, what's his next move? Okay, he's been watching this person. Is he going to try to kill them? Or you hear him say, okay, well, I suspect, and then you look at the main character, and go, okay, is he going to kill them, or is he planning something? Or what's his intentions next? So you didn't get to see that as much as you do nowadays. Nowadays, it's like, okay, he just said he thinks he's suspecting him of something, and the main character is automatically going into revenge, or kill him, or change him, or do something to cause something else. And it's fascinating to watch, and then see the original, then see something that's more current, and you see the original, and then you go back to the current, and you're like, oh, two different worlds, same scenario, but you just have to watch it to understand it better.
And compare them. I mean, compare the old ones to the new ones. Then you've got the TV shows. You go into that, you have Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows.
Then if you want to get more current with the Dracula thing, you can go into True Blood.
True Blood.
And the originals.
Another one. Yep,
and now they've got a new one coming out that's called... It's like the next version past the originals. It's I can't think.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh yes, it's the kids. Sorry.
But
I'll just look it up.
It's they're changing things. They're trying to keep them up. Vampire Diaries started out. A lot of people got locked into it. Then the characters that played the original series came on, and then they made a spin-off of it. And I enjoyed the originals for a long time,
Legacies. Legacies is a new one coming out.
Legacy.
So you had True Blood, you had the originals, and then you had Legacy. I didn't get into True Blood. I couldn't. It was the teenagers.
True Blood, and
my daughter loved it.
It was interesting. It got kind of entertaining for a while.
Angel. You had Angel, you had Buffy, you had Being Human, if you haven't watched it's got the spirit, the ghost, it's got a vampire, and it's got a werewolf.
Yeah, they all three live
now,
together.
there's two of those. There's an American version, and there's a British version. Yeah. But the originals I got into. I really did like it. We watched that whole series. The Legacies, it says it's been going on since 2018. I haven't seen it. I thought it was a new one coming up, but apparently it's...
I've heard of
Been out.
Legacies, but I haven't seen it.
No, it says since 2018,
Yeah.
which would have been right after the original stopped. Then they went into the Legacies.
Yeah, the originals was New Orleans. That's what
Yes.
I was trying to think of.
Yep.
The town of the voodoo.
Yep.
Where they say it all began. You know, there's a good storyline with the originals,
Mhm.
how they got started, how it all became,
But
why
I
they
hated
became.
how they ended it. Oh, I hate it. It's like,
I've never got to watch the ending yet. I've gotten up
I'm
to, you know, where their mother actually came back with a vengeance,
mhm.
and that's as far as I've gotten. But it was really interesting, besides getting past the boring parts, you know.
They didn't have that many.
And there was
I
a
didn't
few.
think so.
I kind of lost interest after a while. You know, and one of the biggest running ones right now is Supernatural.
Yes. They have everything.
Many seasons, many years, and it has had everything in it you could think of. Anything you could think of, it has been in it. They've talked, you know, basically their dilemma was they were the best of the Scooby-Doo gang, except their shit was the real stuff, not a human in a mask.
I don't know, but they got a cool car and they got some awesome music.
That old Oldsmobile that he rebuilt, what, 600 times, and that's seasons after seasons. You
It's
know,
burned up. It's
and
been everything.
and the brothers grew up together from teenager, all, and it followed their storyline through their father, through their mother, through their girlfriends, their college years. You know, Dean and Sam have been through everything.
Mhm.
You know,
And still going.
yeah.
Well, not now. I think they just ended it last year.
I don't know if they've ended it as of yet. I know
I think they were talking about they were done. I'm not
If
sure.
you hear the Winchesters and you understand the Winchesters, you know, then everyone should understand that that was Supernatural. That was the boys. That was Sam and Dean. You know, Sam was the kind of the college bound smart one. You know, he got
Final episode will be, for anybody that's a Supernatural fan, I'm sorry. The bad news is their final episode, according to the internet, will be November the 19th. Pardon my language, damn it.
yeah.
My husband is now into it, so we're rewatching. I'm rewatching. He's watching for the first time. So
Supernatural is something I got into in the very first season, and I remember the first one was they were in the woods and they were battling a Yeti, a supernatural being, and I was like, that's what got me hooked. And then it moved on, and then, you know, I think it was a Dean that got turned into a vampire by accident or something like that. You know, and it went so many different ways. It was an awesome series to watch from the start, you know, and try to watch it all the way to the end.
Netflix says it,
Netflix
I believe,
still
and
has
they've got
it.
the whole thing.
You know, some of the
Hulu
streaming
probably
apps,
does.
they've got some of it, but Supernatural would be something that you can't just write off. You know, it's nothing. It's one of the top ones that I would consider if you wanted to watch something that covers everything throughout Supernatural, to monsters, to current stuff, to whatever you can think of or dream up of. They have it covered in there somehow.
And things you never thought of.
You know, they talk about even the things we know. You know, the old joke goes, if you're going to summon it and bring it into the world, you better know how to kill it. Well, guess what? You go to Sam and Dean, they'll find a way to kill it if they don't already know how to do it.
Yeah.
They'll know how to stop it. They might argue with you. The most fun thing that I've ever seen Sam and Dean does is when they prank the hell out of each other. Constantly pranking each other. That is the most hilarious stuff.
Oh no, it was Dean laying in the seat of the car, and all you start seeing is his hands going up, and it's playing Eye of the Tiger.
Oh yeah, that was one of the episodes he did that. That was an awesome video. His lip syncing, you couldn't have told the difference. It was awesome. It was really, really good.
They even have Comic-Con. They have special Comic-Cons just for Supernatural. Nothing else, just Supernatural. Usually in like Pittsburgh, somewhere out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Supernatural's made a name for itself.
Oh yeah, big time.
It won't be forgotten. You know, those that seen it, know about it. It won't be forgotten. Those two actors and the other characters that were involved, they'll have a name for themselves. You know, hopefully the world treats them right. They get the real royalties from that, because without them, there would have never been a supernatural. It would have been something hodgepodge put together. You know, it's thinking back to even back like the beginning of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
With popular characters in it. You know, William Shatner was in those. You know,
that he was the gremlin. It was a gremlin on the plane.
the plane, yeah, the gremlins on the plane. He kept telling them over and over, there's something out there, something. No one ever believed him, you know. And this is before, and if I'm correct, this was before Star Trek or right at the beginning of Star Trek. You know, all those actors that were in these series like that, and they were so good at it. You could tell they were good at it.
You've got, then you go into those and the Twilight Zone, then you've got the Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Yeah, Alfred
and
Hitchcock.
shows. They had him on, and then the Alfred Hitchcock he was more of a suspense thing.
Yeah, you'd see his shadow of a silhouette come out on the screen, and then you'd hear that same repeated voice. You know, I don't remember right off the top of my head, but with nothing you just forget. You'd know at that moment, you'd see that silhouette, that shadow.
The round and the nose.
He'd step into it, and he'd appear. Or the voice, you know, from the black and white, the guy that did the Twilight Zone, his voice, you know. You're now entering the Twilight Zone. It was awesome to watch and to remember about that.
Well, then you had another spinoff of all that is the X-Files.
The X-Files, yeah.
Now, they redid the X-Files. We watched a couple of those. They just weren't the same. Even though it was the same people, it was. To me, it wasn't the same. Y'all might loved it. I don't know.
You know, some of the other, you know, we talked back some of the classics. There was a few of the Dracula movies that Lugosi was in. Then you jumped over to like Lon Chaney, if I'm saying it right. The very first, it started out as the Wolf Man, and then they wanted to change it to Werewolf, and then that just went back to the Wolf Man. Black and white version, you got to see the story of it. Even with the newest one out, the Wolf Man, that they have out, you know, I think it was 2019 or 2018 or something like that. It pretty much follows the same story, but you got to see some of the parts in the original with Chaney that you don't get to see in the newer version. You know, the father was the original. You know, it got passed down from son to son, and it was interesting to watch it and to compare it with the original. Then we go back to another one, you know, Frankenstein. It actually had another title to it, but I don't remember what it was. There's another listing for that, and they ended up calling it Frankenstein.
Thomas Edison's Frankenstein was in 1910.
They had another one. Then you got to see the creation of Frankenstein, and the way some people portray it now. He kind of had that flat head and stuff. If you watch the classic one, the black and white, I didn't really see it as he had a flat head. It was still more, had the maybe bald, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're taking body parts from different graveyards and piecing it together. That's why we say, you know, some people's cars are Frankenstein put together. Well, you got a part here, a part there from something else, you know. But you think about, it goes into the science, you know. Could you create human life? Well, our science nowadays wants to try to do that, but now they're calling it cloning. You have to start somewhere, but the story is this man was a brilliant genius. You know, he did things that, you know,
normal science didn't do.
Yeah, you know, and he was basically shunned through his village, through the community. Yeah, he was a grave robber, but still, you know. And then his assistant, which we know now, Igor, whatever, but he actually had a different name. But he was that way, and he came to Dr. Frankenstein and just become a lab assistant. You know, and it was an interesting story to watch and to see how he got pushed away and bad things happened to him, or they tried to do bad things to him, but he created a life that in the movie, it was like bringing a newborn into the world. Yeah. It's, you know, unfortunately, anger was one thing. Fire has stuck out with all the Frankenstein movies. It's always been bad, which, you know, he lost his father in the fire. Fire has always been bad to him. But the heart was there. Frankenstein always had heart. It just depends on what the movie makes him out to be. Is he really evil and then monstrous, as they say, or does he have a heart? You look at the kids' version of Frankenstein and Monster Squad,
Yeah.
the little kids' version. Frankenstein was honestly just a child. And he liked that little girl. He liked the kids. They were nice to him. That's all he ever wanted was someone to be nice to him, treat him like someone. He wanted to live. He wanted to belong. And people couldn't do it because of.
And they always had, everyone I've ever remember seeing, they might have had the flat head, but they always had the platform shoes.
The platform
Always
shoes.
platform.
His
Why?
height. Some of the stories are going because when he grade robbed certain characters or people, that he never did get the legs evened up, so that's why the platform shoes were there. But we look at more another black and white version, the Munsters.
Mm-hmm.
Herman Munster was awesome.
Yes.
But he had the shoes on. But man, you could hear him walk, and he didn't need him because in real life that man was already almost 7 foot tall by himself. So you think about that. You kind of look at how the characters and the clothing in the original Frankenstein was just, to me, potato sacks or whatever he could throw over the body to give it representation of clothing. But nowadays they're in. I never remember Frankenstein in the black and white movie having a sport jacket on like Herman Munster did.
Or like Van Helsing. That he had. Remember, he had the cloak or had the hat and the full length, and I guess you call it cloak, jacket, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and it was all sewn up. Now the body being stitched together, you could definitely see in that. That's kind of more the realism of how more likely it would be. You would see the stitches, you would see the marks, the surgery marks,
because it wouldn't heal.
And it wouldn't heal like naturally when the body is formed and created. But it's just a fascinating thing to sit there and think about and look at. And then when you watch it, you're thinking, okay, normally that would heal. Like on us, it might leave a scar, but these are so obvious. It's not going to stay that way. Another one that I'm just going down a list of the ones that I remembered and come back to mind or memory. Creature of the Black Lagoon. Okay, it's a fish man basically. And that was another person I felt really sorry for that made that movie, because that suit probably weighed a good 80 to 100 pounds, all that rubber, and then having to breathe underwater and be able to walk out of the water. And the one scene where he's carrying that woman, that female, it's like, I wonder how many takes they did on that for that poor guy to sit there and carry that full adult female and then carrying that suit. And how many times he slipped and fell in those web feet things. But there's another story to it. The creature lived in a lagoon. And I've never seen a remake of it as of yet that represents it. Marvel has the Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that. DC has Man Thing, which I'm thinking, okay, did they take that idea from the Creature of the Black Lagoon? The kids' movie, Monster Squad, they had the Creature of the Black Lagoon. He came out, but, you still fish. He has to be near water. So, unlike Dracula and the other ones.
And then they had like a fish dude in Hellboy.
Oh, yeah, Hellboy. Yeah, they had that one guy. I can't think of his name, but he was aquatic type. He could breathe on land with an apparatus attached to his neck, which was helpful for him. But, the Creature of the Black Lagoon, I haven't seen anything kind of current to it or even resembling it. If we go on down, we talk about The Mummy. There was a black and white version of it. I don't know if it still exists or if they did away with it, but, they always made fun of the Mummy.
Because he was always the dumb one, I guess. He was worse than Frankenstein.
And then they had the Abbott and Costello, the Mummy. They always made fun of it. It was kind of cool. It was interesting. The Mummy did have what they would say as powers. He could curse someone. He had incredible strength.
1932 is when it says ice show that it was made.
You know, and to see it, I only got to see bits and pieces of it because it was like the movie wasn't finished or got destroyed or something. But it was interesting to watch it because it showed the sands, the sarcophagus. Um, you know, one of the stories, it was a prince that was caught in adultery, you know, that he wasn't supposed to be a part of, and he got mummified by the family member that didn't, jealousy, basically.
And they always walk stiff-legged with their arms straight out
Yeah.
and just kind of groaning.
And then that just reminds me of Frankenstein. They always had Frankenstein supposedly with his arms when he's walking. Now, the black and white one, I remember that a little bit, but not the whole time. And then they've repeated that with the mummy. The last three I have on here, The Invisible Man. They've made a lot of comedies about it. Chevy Chase was in one of them, but the story stayed kind of true. It was an accident that happened. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and his body was permanently invisible. You know, you could see him wearing glasses, but you know how much fun that would be if you could be invisible or you could sneak up on people, especially Halloween time. But, you know, there was another story, and it basically made him to be out kind of angry. He was a murderer. He would kill people. You know, he had a certain female in mind that he loved or wanted to be possessive of, and he would stop people from becoming in their life. And it was kind of a weird storyline, but it almost reminded me too much of The Invisible Man being a old gangster cop kind of story. You know, it just, I don't know. You see him sitting there smoking a cigarette, you know, the kind of old private detective, PI thing. It just, I don't know. I just couldn't get into that one. We move on to another one that's been a comedy made of, is The Little Shop of Horrors. There was a black and white one of that one, but it was the truer version of the creation of that plant. Now, its name, I've lost track of the plant's name, but he always called it by that name. But, but anyway,
Maurice is what I'm getting, but I don't think that's right.
The plant did feed off of blood. And the man eventually did lose his life, if I remember correctly, in the black and white version. He was in love with a woman, but he did lose his life to that plant because the plant became more and more, technically like they say vampires are, it lusted after blood, and that's the only way it could live. He wanted to kill it, but then he couldn't do it because he gave it life, created it, and made it grow. But, you know, it was almost like the plant could induce him to go out and be like Jack the Ripper, you know, go out and kill the homeless or go out and kill a prostitute or something like that to feed it, to keep it alive so it could grow.
Now this says the name was Audrey.
Audrey, yeah.
Twooey
Audrey.
for short. Audrey 2 or 2E for short.
I remember Audrey now, yeah. You know, then they had the comedy version, Rick Moranis and The Little Shop of Horrors. Audrey. Seymour, yeah. They had song and dance routines, which was kind of comical and kind of funny, but it followed the same story, which was cool. And it was fun to watch, and that was the 80s, if I remember correctly, around that time.
86.
And then we have another character that I don't see when people talk about classics is the Phantom of the Opera. That story I didn't really get to be in depth with. I really didn't get to see a lot of it. But if you try to watch some of the more current from 80s all the way up to the 90s, they'll have shows that are similar to Phantom of the Opera, or you'll see a spin-off of something that relates back to it. You know, the gentleman was in love with a woman, had an accident, his face was completely disfigured. Jealousy kicks in, he dresses in black and white, but he was a beautiful musician that played the piano. He knew how to play it. He could make any kind of music.
Became scarred on one part of his face.
Yeah, you know, but that's just another story of jealousy and rage. But, you know, the talent was there. The thing that made them the Phantom of the Opera to, you know, nowadays the orchestra, if you say Phantom of the Opera, they'll know exactly what music you're talking about. They'll be able to go into it, play it, You know, and it's a fun thing to watch. You know, it kind of reminds me of sometimes that's where they got the masquerade balls because he actually went to a what we
He
call a
went to
party
a ball.
or a ball, and that was him.
Yeah.
They thought he was dressed up, and no, that was him. And that's where he enacted his plans and revenge and all that good stuff that they do in the shows and the movies. So,
You got Dr. Jekyll or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
That's a common story.
And that's been in
Again,
comedies, that's been in good ones, that's been in. They have him kind of, if you think about it, the Dr. Jekyll and the Mr. Hyde thing is the Hulk.
similar, yeah.
I mean, that's the same similarities
or
there.
psychologists would call him today, he's bipolar.
But yeah.
They're
Yeah.
bipolar. They have a Jekyll and Hyde side, you know, but, you know, even in the Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, Mr. Hyde became supposedly permanently
Yeah.
until he realized he was going to die. Then he turns back into Dr. Jekyll, which is human, and then he dies, you know.
Well, and then they also had him in League of Gentlemen.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean
yes,
Connery.
yes.
That was a great one to watch. He was awesome in it. He could actually control Hyde to a point,
Right.
unless his rage became really bad, and then that kind of takes you back to the Hulk and the anger issue and getting more stronger and bigger and things like that. But they've taken a lot of these characters and made them. In some ways, I think they kind of dumbed them down.
You mean like the twinkling vampires in Twilight?
Oh yes, Twilight. It was interesting. The only part I enjoyed in Twilight was the wolves, the Vulgari, the newborn vampires. The other ones, yeah. I mean, when Bella got turned, it was kind of funny, comical when she arm wrestled the brother, the strongest of the brother, and they all had their own unique powers. You know, one was strength, one was speed, and blah blah down the line, which was cool in a way. But then the twinkly, sparkly shit, I'm like, that was an insult. I'm sorry, that was an insult to a supernatural creature.
That was just weird.
That's like saying a werewolf turns in and has pink fur, which would be funny. But you know, if it happens, it happens. Leave it alone. You know, make them twinkly. Well, that might go to the other side.
Never did get that.
But,
I mean, I know it was to make a new twist on it, but
you know, but they kept, you know, Jacob's family side of Native Americans, which was typically just, if you break it down, they were shapeshifters, and they chose the wolves. But I figure if they really want to go into a shapeshifting, they probably would have chose more than wolves. It'd probably been bears. You know, they had made the pact with the vampires to stay on their side. They stay on their side. No interference from either other. You know, and it got broken. You know, and one accused the other, and it just become. The story was good to a point, and then it just kind of fell off the edge. You know, and then it became nothing but a romance novel to me in a damn book. You know, Bella, yes, falls in love. Yes, she has a baby. Yes, the baby's going da, 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 and then it follows through. But still, you know, and then the funniest thing was, you know, Jacob's supposedly imprinted on Bella the whole long time. He's imprinted it
on
the daughter. And then she goes off on him, but it's not his fault. I mean, it could think about it. If you think in supernatural ways, the Cannibal is a creature that is for vengeance, and if you call upon it, all it wants is a master. So it imprints on you and does basically whatever you tell it to do verbally or telepathically, and it does that. So, you know, supernatural, you could have an imprint on them. Like certain animals are born, they imprint on the first thing they see. Birds can do it. That wouldn't count reptiles doing it because they're all instinct. But some animals will imprint on you. And they will come, but you got to remember, they're still animals, so they go on instincts. They're not psychological thinkers, you know. They survive. So they will protect themselves. They will hunt. They will, you know, want attention. They will want affection. You know, that's why, you know, society has gave wolves their family members, they call them a pack. They stay together, they hunt together, they live together, they feed together, they protect one another. And there's always one leader. Big cats, they call them a pride. Or, you know, flock of, is it ravens or crows? They call them a
Murder.
murder. Everything had to have a title, but still, the imprinting thing, could happen. I'm sorry that he imprinted on her daughter all along, but he knew something was there, and when it finally came out, that was her sole sworn protector. And there was nothing she could do about it, period, but, it didn't matter. There's so many current things, so many current horror flicks out there, movies, series, and it's just fascinating to watch, and it could be talked about for hours and days.
Yeah, we're almost at an hour now.
Continue. But you guys, like she said earlier, if you know of a movie that was really interesting, fascinating to you, shoot us the comment, let us know, or what your opinions on it was when you were younger. Did it scare the shit out of you? I know when I was younger, movies like The Howling, you scared the shit out of me because you didn't know where the hell it was coming from.
Exorcist.
The Exorcist was another good
that
one.
That one still gets to me sometimes. And I know it's a movie, but
I can't think of the lady's name, but she still lives. She's still getting that. The royalties from that movie. She was the little girl. I laughed my ass off first time I saw her throw up on the priest. I thought that was funny as shit, but that's just
Linda
me.
Blair.
Linda Blair.
Linda Blair.
Yeah. And they've done recreations of that one too, and it's just not the same as the original.
They did one that they redid it, and they added new special effects into it, where she was walking backwards down the stairs. It was okay, but it still wasn't the original. I like the original. Now they've done like 3 or 4 parts to it.
Yeah, they kind of stretched it out.
Yeah, they stretched it out, which kind of gives you more information, and then it goes back and it goes forward, and it's different.
And the horror flicks touched on different age groups too. Okay, Exorcist, she was a child. Okay, she got possessed. Okay,
but it's based on a true story.
Yeah, it's based on a true
story of a little boy, not a little girl.
Yeah, they reversed it and put a girl in the place. But they've modified it, changed it. From Dracula, the adult version. And I was trying to think there was another child. Oh,
the Omen.
Damien.
The Omen.
The Omen. They've had 1, 2, 3. I remember up to the 3rd one, but I know there's another one that's called something, The Omen, something else. The child's the spawn of the devil or whatever. Those stories had so much intensity just watching it, because you knew without the music that there was something that's going to change, something's going to happen, something's going to move on. And it's just not, if the woman has a child, it's a demon, blah, 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 and you could actually see it. But
well, they had the Omen 3 in 81. And I think they've even done more than that, but I know there's definitely 3 of them. Then you've got the Nightmare on Elm Street, and one of my favorite series. Halloween, except for 3. I did not understand why they went from the way they were doing the Halloween 1 and 2, and then changed to 3 that was Season of the Witch.
Right.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it.
Like the Friday the 13th with Jason, that they had so many there. Mm-hmm. Then they went to that one movie of him, and this girl had psychic powers. Mm-hmm. I mean, she could literally blow him through the wall, but you knew, honestly, he's not going to die from that, period,
They didn't kill him in space. Freddy didn't kill him.
No.
I mean,
Freddy's nothing but nightmares. He's a dream. Mm-hmm. And Jason can't die. Michael Myers can't die, even though Jamie Lee Curtis
has killed him a dozen times.
He's died from her how many times?
There's a new one.
And
there's another one. Halloween 2000 or something like that, and then there's another one, and it's a newer version, and they like redone Halloween. And it's like, quit remaking things. Some of them turn out great. Some of them do. Some of them suck.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But to go back to it, guys, let us know.
Yeah.
Put it down. We'll read it. We may go into that topic, or we may add to that topic and just kind of spread it out. Or we may find more that we haven't talked about. There's so many more that can go. Zombies, one of the top dogs out there. We could talk about some of the more comic stuff. We could talk about more of the remakes. We could talk more about the classics, how it changed. And then we can go into our own rating systems. We thought about doing, was this movie worth the small popcorn? Was this movie worth the supersized popcorn? It was that good, that you wanted to sit through it and didn't want to leave,
That's right. Big popcorn.
You held the pee through the whole movie. You didn't have to get up. You didn't want to do it. You couldn't miss it, and you just could not move. You knew it was that good. You were locked into it, so you had to have that supersized popcorn. You told the person who you were with, get up, get me the fucking popcorn. I'm not leaving. Besides the beep there. My mistake. But that's the enthusiasm, the excitement you can get from it.
It happens.
And you just can blurt it out. So enjoy it. Go back over it. Find those childhood favorites and let us know, and then we'll take things from there.
Definitely. And if you like this format better than, somebody sitting and reading to you, let us know. I had fun. I mean,
this was a lot better.
This seemed to be a little more interactive, because it's hard to do the live feeds because, in my opinion, because you can't get everybody there. You might only have 2 or 3 people. And still, it's kind of weird because you got to have a monitor to watch the feed and what the comments and everything are. We're experimenting. We're working with this. Let us know what you guys want. We want to make sure that we stay in contact with everybody and keep everybody involved in the group. That way, when we do get to go back to normal and start having, big group meetings and stuff like that, we're not losing you. We want to keep you guys. You're part of the tribe.
For you guys that remember this, it was on cable TV for a long time. There was 2 guys, Siskel and Ebert, and they would come on and they would debate and talk about and rate movies, no matter what type of movie it was. That's what we can do here, and we can make it fun.
Yeah.
Because you guys already know us, we have fun with this, and, we'll just continue on with this. So let us know what you rate this at, how much more you want to go over. So we'll talk to you again. Bye for now.
See you next week. Bye.